So if it's possible, right, somebody might be watching and just like, oh my gosh, that's me. I've been down every path. I'm trying to figure things out. I don't have any clear answers. Are there any sort of indications that someone could go, oh, maybe that's what it is? Okay.
For sure. So there's very quintessential things that we've talked about that we see in our clientele that's very common amongst them. First of all, it's people who really want to get answers and want to know what's going on and will keep digging.
Yeah.
And they're not happy with no, you're fine. And they're like, no, I'm not fine. So they know. Secondly, it's people who tend to be sensitive to a lot of things. So if you're the person who walks down the aisle at the grocery store where the soaps are, the laundry detergent, and you're the person who's like, oh my God, it's going to take me 6 hours. I'm going to vomit. It's going to be awful.
Yeah.
So if you're the person who reacts to scents, if you're the person who reacts to pressure changes. So here in Calgary, we have Chinooks, and Chinooks can really do a number. You hear about, oh my gosh, I had a migraine because of the Chinook. Well, hi, mast cell.
Right.
Just for you to know, perhaps there's a mast cell component. A person who is sensitive to sound, to noise, to sense, to lights, to
electromagnetic fields.
EMFs and things with the Wi-Fi and that sort of type of thing. Or if you're the person who's sensitive to supplements or to other things where, your practitioner may say, I want you to start taking these herbals. And you go away and you try them, and then they do not work the way that the herbalist thinks. So this is also part of our work is in helping educate, I suppose, or help turn on the light for those people who are practitioners to say, okay, when you have someone like, for example, so for me, any kind of manual therapy used to make my symptoms even worse, and the pain would just skyrocket. So, we've done a few talks at clinics where there's manual therapy and physiotherapy and those types of practices.
Osteopathy. Yeah.
And we say, okay, so if you have clients who don't react the way you think, or if they come in and they're guaranteeing you they're doing their exercises, but their situation's not improving, that's an invitation to dig a bit deeper and see if there's some mast cell involvement there, or histamine. Diagnosis aside, that's an indicator. So the sensitive to all kinds of different things, from things you can touch and feel and see and smell to the way that your body reacts to things is for sure.
And I think the other thing that I would add is for some people, not everybody, but for some people they exhibit very classic allergic types of symptoms. So they might get rashes or swelling and itching where they can't piece it together to what the trigger is.
Yeah.
And they might go to their doctor and get referred to allergy testing, and that testing will either come back with nothing, like you're not allergic to anything. Sometimes it also comes back with you're allergic to everything. And that's not actually the case. You're not allergic to everything, but your mast cells, again, Luke has been talking about being sensitive, your mast cells are just sensitized. And so they overreact to that.
The way that I like to explain that is that mast cells, for somebody who doesn't have mast cell activation or doesn't have sensitized mast cells, they need this much stimulus to get the mast cell to go pit with histamine. That's the sound it makes. It's the mast cells. They're part of your immune system and they release histamine. So somebody who's not sensitive needs this much stimulus. The person who has mast cell activation of some sort or who is quite sensitive needs this much stimulus. And so it's this constant release. And part of what adds insult to injury, I'm sorry to be such a bearer of bad news, but the histamine being released triggers the mast cell next door to then release more histamine. So it's kind of this boom, 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 boom. Like it's a steady release.
And then in addition, so we call ourselves Histamine Haven because histamine is the most researched chemical mediator that is released from mast cells. But there's actually over 1,000 different chemical mediators. And so this is why, we've kind of been talking about sensitivities and allergic type symptoms, but really any symptom can show up as part of this, just to confuse the whole matter. Like everybody has different symptoms. Because these cells, because they can release 1,000 different potential mediators, they're going to release different things for every different person under different situations. And those are like a little language that goes and communicates to other cells, which will result in symptoms. So it's just it's so diverse. And people think of histamine as being an allergic type of response, but it can, it's the histamine plus all of these other mediators that just, it's overwhelming.